Hello and welcome to the Dad Schooler YouTube channel. And in this episode, we're going to talk about homeschool versus public school and which one you might be thinking and what are some pros and cons coming up. Alright, so COVID hit. You had to homeschool. It was difficult. It was crazy. And now you're thinking, should I send my kids back to public school? Or you're thinking, I am sending my kids back to public school. And I just want to go over some questions that I've been hit with as a dad, with other dads. This is homeschooling versus public school from a dad's perspective. And some of the questions that I get and some of the pros and cons, if you will. I think some of the cons of homeschooling can easily be a pro from what I've learned and in my experience. So for homeschooling, number one, it is catered to the child and family. Instead of sending your kid to school where they have to fit the mold of curriculum, the mold of this pace, the pace that the teacher is going to, it gets to be on the kid. You get to look at your own child and say, where are they struggling? Where are they at? How can I help them learn the best they can? How can I cater our learning routine to cater to my kid and help him grow? Because what works for some may not work for others. So I definitely see that as a pro. Number two, kids have a chance to be themselves and not follow the trend of society. Now, as things become popular and things aren't so popular, our kids are faced with a lot of decisions, and sometimes they'll choose something that they may not be into just because it's popular. Homeschool kids get the choice to be who they want to be. They don't follow trends exactly. They follow what their interests are. They're led by what they want to pursue, what they like, and it doesn't always necessarily have to go where everyone else is going. They could be the fish that swim in this way. And I think that's a great thing because I think it brings leaders. It brings someone who's not going to be a follower, but someone who's going to be themselves and not afraid to be themselves. So, homeschooling pro, number two. Number three, ability to instill values and emphasize character development. And it's your school, it's your rules. And how you want to teach your kids and the values you want to place is entirely up to you. There's a lot of freedom in that, and there's a lot of purpose too. Because now we get to say the Pledge of Allegiance before we start school. We get to say all the words that we want to say in the Pledge of Allegiance. We get to instill Bible time as part of our school. So there's certain things that you can instill into your children of character, of values that you get to do, and it's not dictated by someone else. Number four, flexibility with schedule and working at your own pace. Now, being a full-time working dad, I get to school when it is appropriate for my schedule. And my wife, being a full-time working mom, she gets to school when it's appropriate for her schedule. She works from home, so she has some flexibility. And so, because that is our schedule and that's how we plan it, it's not the normal routine of 8 to 2, 7 to 2, or 7 to 3. We get to fit in homeschool where it works for our family unit. And I think that's important. I think that's great. It's a great flexibility. It's great to have that flexibility in your home when you do that. And it leads to not such a routine that the kids are so structured. And maybe you want that structure. Maybe you want that routine, and that's okay too. I mean, there's definitely benefits in having a routine because we have a routine in our homeschool, but something comes up, we get to adapt. If we want to go on a trip to see some family, we can just go. We're not tied to the vacation schedule of school. We can go, and we just make up school when we come back. And for us, the way we like to do our schooling is it's just year-round. There isn't summer break, no winter break. When we take a break, we take a break. And then we come back and we resume schooling. And I think that works for our family. It may not work for other families, but for ours it works because in my mind, as seeing homeschool and being public school, every day is like Saturday for homeschool kids. So I think it works out. Number five, you get to build a relationship with your child. And not saying that you can't do this outside of homeschool, because you certainly can. that's quite, that is definitely doable, and it's definitely feasible, and most people do it. There isn't a saying that if you homeschool you're not building a relationship. But the goal, I think, and my point here is that you get to spend that time in the trenches, in the trenches, if you will, working with your kids and learning and growing. I know that in working with my daughter and reading, it's just been a challenge, but it's also been something that we get to bond over, that we get to have that time together, that I'm working with her in something that's hard, that's challenging, and I get to be with her with that. And so if I wasn't homeschooling, I kind of would miss those little moments. I miss those hard times, but it's in some of those hard times that we build strong relationships with our kids. And so I'm grateful that I get to do it. I'm excited to see how it comes out when she can read and we cross that trench together, because I didn't do that with my son. My wife taught my son to read, so I'm kind of excited to take this in and work with my daughter and see how this comes out. So it's a relationship building tool, another tool to build a relationship. It's not the only tool. So I'm sure I'm going to get some comments in that. But now let's go on to public school. These are kind of a lot of questions that people have asked me. And why are you public schooling? Why are you homeschooling? And aren't they going to miss this? Isn't this an issue for you? How about this one? So I want to go over those points, and for some they're pros, for some they're cons. I think there's definitely ways around some of these things that people want in homeschool that we can create within our homeschool. So number one is socialization with other kids. That is the number one thing that I hear when people ask, aren't you concerned about the socialization with other kids? And that you do get a lot of socialization with kids in public school. There's no doubt about that. They're with them 8 hours a day. They're going to have socialization. But at the same time, you can have that within your homeschool. We had a homeschool group we're a part of. There's a lot of play dates within homeschool groups that you can take your kids to. Our church, we're involved in our church, so they get to go to all these different church activities where they meet other kids, they engage with other kids. And so we find opportunities for our kids to engage, to meet other kids, to socialize. And at the same time, though, there is the added benefit that my children aren't just used to socializing with kids their age. Because in school, fourth graders are with the fourth graders. Very rarely do they travel up to the fifth grade level, or would they dare travel down to the third grade level to hang out. Homeschool kids, they hang out with people of all ages. So it's exciting. Well, it's cool to see how my son, who hangs out with so many different age groups, he can come in and hang out with whoever, and it's not going to bother him. He doesn't think like, oh, this person's 2 years older than me, he's probably way too cool to hang out with me. Like, he has no shame. He'll go up to talk to anybody. In fact, he'll even talk to my great aunt, who's 70, and have a great conversation about movies with her, because she liked to watch all the new Marvel and Star Wars movies. So they're not afraid to have conversations with anyone of any age level. So I think that's a pretty great and that's a pretty great benefit of socialization, that it's not just one side of socialization. So that's a benefit of public school, but we can find our way around it during homeschool. 2, can create a healthy competition. Now, this is one that I've thrown out there because I was very competitive as a kid. So when you're in school, it compels you to be competitive. It compels you to try to do better than the next kid. And I think that's, if done in the right aspect, is healthy. We all try to do our best. We all want to push ourselves. So like, we do flag football. I used to want to be the best at flag football. Or we did math around the world. You try to find what you're great at. You try to find your strength, and you push yourself as a kid. And so that is a great benefit of public school, and something that within homeschool can be a little harder to find out where you can get these challenges. Of course, your kids can do sports. Your kids can do competitive things. So it's not like once you homeschool, that's gone. In fact, some schools you can even just do their sports programs. So there are those ways to get competitive. There are ways to ignite that. But public school is a good place for that. The kids are going to get that. And I think with public school, it's important to say that, these things are almost like guarantees. They're going to have socialization with kids. They're going to get competitive in certain events. Or they just won't. And they'll hate being competitive too. So you can get the opposite, but these things are always present. And that's something that you're always going to run into at homeschool, which could be the benefit for you. 3, some life experiences that might seem like a rite of passage. This one can be a little controversial because I think some parents are like, I don't want to put my kids in these situations where they deal with bullying, they deal with I remember having my first crush. I remember certain things, or as you get older and asking a girl to dance at the school dance. These little moments that build up confidence, build up life lessons, or getting rejected by the girl that you asked to dance with. So there's certain things that just thinking like wonder years. All these little life lessons that as you fumble through life, as you go through the awkward period. It's just like a growth tool, and I think there's something to be said of that, definitely, because a lot of things I think about in my past kind of shaped that, being from public school. But is that completely gone from homeschool? No. And at the same time, is that toxic? It could be toxic this day and age. I think someone told me there's either toxic environments or non-toxic environments, and it's either going to fit in one of two categories. But at the same, to say that school isn't the same when I went to school. If you're a parent, which I'm pretty sure you're watching this because you're a parent, school is different. School has changed. Social media, the internet, all these things have changed the way school has become. So it is a little different, and it is not as safe place as it used to be. Or even if it wasn't safe, it didn't seem like it went as far. Things are going so far, so fast for kids at a young age this day. So sometimes it's good to hold them back, and it's not hold them back. Sometimes it's good to let them be where they are and stay where they are instead of just constantly being pushed to this social level. Number 4, a reason you might want a public school is because, let's just face it, you get your free time back. You get the time to pursue your career and schedule. And I think that's also important to note. Some people aren't given a choice. And they have to go to work between these hours. And that's okay. I never want to be somebody that pushes someone into homeschool and they're uncomfortable about it. And it doesn't work for their family unit. That is definitely an okay reason to not homeschool. And that is definitely a benefit too. If you have to put food on the table, you have to make these things to feed your family. Like, by all means, homeschooling might not be the option for you. It's finding the flexibility, but that is definitely the pro of public school. Is you get to go pursue your career. You get to go pursue what you want to do as far as your means. And at the same time, maybe you're just gone crazy with your kids and you need that peace. And number 5, which it just frees a whole lot of responsibility, is you don't have to be 100% responsible for your children's education. The weight of how your child learns and the work you have to do with them to get them to a level of understanding and what they're learning is a huge responsibility. Many times I just don't know how I'm going to teach kindergarten because it is hard. Like, some things that you just know, like I don't know how to translate this to preschool, to kindergarten level, to first grade. I just know these things, but to teach them is something different. But you get the chance to grow and learn with your kids, and really the whole idea is that you're also learning along with your kids. So although the education is on you, you're going to be able to learn because you're learning with them. But also on the public school side, or for the public school win, that's a burden you don't have to bear, Frodo. You don't have to be like, oh man, I gotta teach them how to read. I gotta teach them algebra. I'm dreading teaching algebra, to be honest. I can't even comprehend that. But that is, a benefit of taking a public school. And so, for me, to sum up this video, it's for the dad who's saying homeschool or public school. What do I decide? This is for the for the father, for the family who has options. And is this what I want, or is this what I want? So you gotta choose for your own family calling. You gotta choose for your family dynamic. And these are just to give you some ideas on some of the things that people may say to you as a new homeschooling parent, and you can talk to them about these points. Yeah, socialization may be an issue, but we're involved in this, but we're going this direction. So it's really just to kind of give you an idea of some things to think about, to weigh in on your decision of homeschool versus public school, and also to maybe even just confirm why you're homeschooling. And so I hope this video helps. If you would like to be a part of this dad community, please subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know, are you homeschooling, or have you chosen a public school? And let me know why. I'd love to know why you've made the choice, and there's no shame in that, because it's a choice for your family. Of course, the purpose of this channel is just to encourage dads to take in leadership in their home, giving ideas and how they can just be a part of this process in homeschooling or public schooling, being involved. Because I think sometimes I know I have missed that boat. I wasn't truly involved for the first few years of our homeschool. And so now being involved, I can take these lessons from homeschool, apply it to whether my kids decide to go to public school or we continue homeschooling. I get to apply all of this and work it in being more involved in everything that's going on in our family, and just taking that active role as principal. And you can also follow me at the Dad Schooler on Dad Schooler Podcast or the Dad Schooler on Instagram, and got content there as well. So thank you, and we'll talk soon.